Good guys. So let's get started for now. As part of the previous session, we have seen a brief introduction about conditional statements, right? Conditional statements and how they will be used, right? So conditional statements and how are we going to use these conditional statements we have studied in the previous session. And additionally, so what we need to do right now is let us see about a looping statements. Okay, so looping statements. So what are all these looping statements are? So how exactly we need to use these looping statements? Okay, so looping statements, the name itself will tells you, whatever the logic we want, it will perform that logic for multiple times. The looping statements will perform that particular logic for multiple times. So what exactly the meaning of this particular one is? A simple example is there is a requirement for me where I want to print the numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, so I know basically I can use a system.out.println to print the information. So here I'm creating a new Java class, demo 8 with a main method. See guys, a small question that comes in our mind. So sometimes you are creating a main method and sometimes you are creating an object. So when we need to create a main method and when we need to create an object. So the answer for this one is if you have information in one class and if you want to use it in another class, in such situations, we will create an object. If you have an info defined in the same class, then we can simply, call that info without a main methods. Okay, without a main methods. That's it. Got it? Any questions?
No, I'm
Okay,
good.
so here what we need to do right now in the current situation, I just want to print certain information. So here system.out.println, I'm just adding a print statement 1. So in order to print numbers up to 10, I just need to write down this logic for 10 times, right? 10, 9, something, right? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and a 1. So it means what are we doing right now? So we are printing this information for 10 different times. Okay. So here, what I need to do means, okay, I just need to run my test script that will be printing down these numbers for 10 times, 1 to 10. Okay, good. So the point is usually, usually in the real world, it's tough for us to write down these many print statements to perform certain logics. As of now, this is the only print statement. There are a few more statements are there that we need to focus on. In such situations, we need to have a look into the alternatives to perform this operation. So the other alternatives that we have in order to perform these operations are basically the loops itself. Instead of writing this logic for these many times, we can use a loop and we can print that information So how this is going to work? So we have a while, for, while, do while loops are there using which you can perform this particular operation. Okay, using this, we can perform this particular operation. Perfect. So what exactly this for loop does and how exactly we can use this for loop. So this for loop here, what we need to do means it has its unique syntax. Okay, while loop is having its unique syntax, a for loop is having its unique syntax, a do while loop is also having its unique syntax. Everything here has its unique syntaxes. The only thing that we need to do is we just need to okay, so we just need to write down or implement that particular syntax and perform your logic internally. Okay, that's fine. So how exactly the for loop is going to work? So the for loop was completely categorized into couple of sections here. The first one is initialization. The next one is a condition. And the next one is either increment or a decrement operator. So the for loop was broadly categorized into these three different parts. The first one is an initialization. You need to initialize where exactly your loop will start. So maybe I can say that I equal to 1. So I want to start my loop at I equal to 1. So I is an integer. Int I equal to 1, I need to specify so that the loop is going to start at a 1. And the condition, we need to specify the condition until which the loop should execute. So I less than or equal to 10. Rotate this loop until the x value is less than or equal to 10. And every time increment your I value by 1. So initially my I value is 1. It will compare the condition whether it is less than or equal to 10 or not. Whenever the condition is true, it will directly perform the logic that you have defined in a loop, and then it will perform an increment operation. This whole cyclic process will continue until this condition got terminated. Okay, until this condition got terminated, this whole cyclic process will continue. Let me show you a simple example here. So for loop will start with the keyword as a for, and this for is categorized into three parts. The first one is an initialization int I equal to 1. This is what the initialization part is. And you need to specify a semicolon I less than or equal to 10. So I just need to specify a condition that whether my I value is less than or equal to 10 or not. And I plus plus. We have studied that I plus plus means increment the I value by 1. Internally, what I need to do, system.out.println of I. I just asked it to print the only I value here. See here, guys, initially the I value is 1. 1 less than or equal to 10. This condition is true. It will print 1. It will enter the loop and it will print 1. And later, it will increment the I value by 1. As of now, I becomes 2 now. 2 less than or equal to 10. Again, the condition is true. It will print that information. Slowly, it will execute the loop until the condition got a fail. So when I run my test script as a Java application this time, 1 to 10, all the values got printed down to the console. Okay, 1 to 10, all the values got printed down. So if you observe this statement, in order to print the numbers from 1 to 10, so we have a written 10 print statements. Whereas if you observe Inside the for loop, we are just passing only one print statement. The for loop is fulfilling that particular need. For suppose, if your requirement is to print 100 numbers, you no need to change anything here. Inside of this for loop, the condition value, if you change it to 100, automatically this will be printing down to all the 100 values. Okay, automatically it will be printing down to all the 100 values. Let me run my script as a Java application. See here, within a fraction of seconds, all the 100 values are getting printed. The same condition, I can use it for different sets of values also. Depending on my need, I can perform this particular operation. Okay, depending on my need, I can just perform this particular operation. Gets done the deal. And for loop is having a different types of syntaxes basically, guys. Okay. Yeah, guys, any questions for me on this for loop?
Surendra, this is Anusha. Could you
Yeah.
please help me? How do we write the logic for increment by 2, which is 1, 3,
Sure.
5?
Sure. See, the only thing here, what we need to do is, yeah, Misha, I'm just doing that. So the only thing that we need to do is, in the current situation, we have a just printed down only one value here that is incrementing by 1, right? So we will be picking up one more small example where I will show you how to print increment by 2 or increment by 3, something like that, and how exactly we can call and another for loop also. We call it as a nested for loop. How are we going to deal with that? Let me show you with this example. Okay, demo 9, I'm creating a main method. See here, for int I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 30 this time, instead of I plus plus. So it's not a mandatory that to specify this I plus plus. You can specify I is equal to I plus 2. So here, the only thing that you need to specify is whatever the I value you want to perform the increment, you just need to perform this particular increment value. So I is equal to I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus 3, whichever the thing you want, you can specify that particular value, and I can use system.out.println I. So initially my I value is 1. So slowly what it will be doing is, so 1 plus 2, 3. So 1, 3, 5, 7, some odd numbers it's going to print here. All these are odd numbers. For suppose if you pass your I value as a 2 here, so 0 plus 2, 2. So it means in this situation, it will be printing down all the even numbers. See here, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, something like that. All the even numbers will be printed down to the console. So how much value you want to perform this increment, you just perform this increment operation. And this is the loop, guys, where we are starting from 0 and we are comparing this stuff. In certain situations, int I equal to 10. So here you have a I value as a 10. If the condition is I is equal to 1 and I, what exactly we need to do? I is equal to I minus 1. So here, if you clearly observe what we have done right now, the condition is, so here, this is I, okay? So the I is 10 now. So we are starting from 10 and the condition is whenever I is equal to 1, okay? The value present in a I is equal to 1, okay? Then I is equal to I minus 1. So we are reducing that particular thing. And even here, instead of equal to, I can specify I greater than or equal to 1. If the I value is greater than or equal to 1, perform this operation. See here, guys, I is the 10. So this 10 is a greater than or equal to 1. It will perform that print operation. So the difference out over here is earlier, starting from 1 or a 0, we perform the increment operation and we are coming from top to bottom. Whichever it might be, depending on your project need, you can use these customized logics that we have inside the for loop. Either you can go in a forward direction or you can come in a backward direction also using this for loops. Okay, using this for loops, you can go in a different directions. And now here, what I'm doing right now means for int I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 3, I plus plus. Right. So this is what a simple for loop that we have already created earlier. So what I need to do right now is inside of this for loop, there are certain requirements in the real world where you need to write down a for loop inside a for loop. In such situations, for int j equal to 1, j less than or equal to 3, j plus plus. See here, if you observe, there is a for loop. This for loop is inside this particular for loop. And system.out.println, I want to print the I content plus I want to print the j content also. So this print statement, what it's going to do, first of all, if you see here, guys, I is equal to 1 and 1 less than or equal to 3. The condition is true, it will enter the loop. So here, I is equal to 1 as of now. And here, j is equal to 1, j less than or equal to 3. This condition is true. It will print I some space plus j value. So it means I value is 1 and followed by a space, the j value is 1. So it means it will be printing 1, 1. And later, so my I value still becomes 1, but in the j value, as it is inside the loop, it will increment 2 less than or equal to 3. The condition is true. Again, it will print I plus j. So it means I is 1 and j is 2. This time it should print 1 and 2. The same way, 1 and 3 will be printed so that whenever the 3 got printed, the second loop condition got terminated and it will go back to the first for loop, and in which I will be incremented by 1. Now I becomes 2, 2 less than or equal to 3. So here I is equal to 2. Again 2 less than or equal to 3. 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. And I will be incremented by 1. Again, I becomes a 3. 3, 1, 3, 2, and a 3, 3. Like this, all these values will be printed. Let me execute this script once and let us see how this is going to work. Run as a Java application. See, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. So here someone will may ask me, anyone. So you are using a plus operator. What exactly the plus significance is? So in the print statement, we are not adding the integers here. We are saying that this variable content for which plus add a space plus place this variable. So it means in between I and j, we are appending some space to the console, guys. Okay. In between I and j, we are appending some space. That's what the logic that we have defined in a line number 18. Good. Yeah, go ahead, guys, with your question. Anusha, seems like you have a question. Go ahead.
How would the program know they should execute only this many times? Like
so this
line
condition
number
is deriving the whole thing. So yes,
we commented that one, right?
As of
That
now, the
means
reason I have a commented this one is in the same program, I want to perform a different set of logic. That's the reason I have a commented this previous program. So whenever I have a commented this one, this whole logic will not execute, only this logic will be
right.
executing. Right. So here, if you see this particular example, considering this, I less than or equal to 3. So you are defining I as a 1 and it is saying that less than or equal to 3. So it means it will execute I for 1, I for 2, and even I for 3. So as per this condition and as per this declaration and as per this increment, the combination of these 3 itself will decide you how many times it should perform that particular logic. The reason is, as of now, I have a defined I as a 1, right? So I less than or equal to 3. It's perfect. Up to 3 values, it should execute. If I have a given I plus 5, so assume that I is equal to I plus 5. So here, if you see, how many times it will execute? So whenever it increment the value by 5, the I becomes a 6 now. 6 less than or equal to 3, the condition is false. It means it will be executing only for one time. So the whole logic is deriving with these 3 things. First, suppose if I define my I value as a 10, say 10 less than or equal to 3, the condition itself is a false, so that it will not enter into the loop. So the combination of the initialization, the condition, and the increment, all these 3 will decide you how many times it should execute the loop, Anusha. Got it?
Got it. Thank you, Surendra. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Deepa, Gayatri, Sachin, Shobhan, and Sunanda, any questions for me on this?
No, this is clear. Yeah.
Okay. And we have some more types of for loops are there. So we have seen this for loop, we call it as a nested for loop. So what exactly a nested for loop means? Inside a for loop, you are defining a one more for loop. Okay, inside a for loop, you are defining one more for loop. Okay, so that we are treating as a nested for loops. Okay, and you have a couple more for loops that we need to discuss here. There, we can call it as a the different types of for loops, and additionally for each loops are there, labeled for loops are there, and even some kind of a logics that we can manipulate using these for loops. Slowly those concepts we will study moving ahead. But for now, this base is more than enough. Okay, this is the base which is more than enough for us. Once we started with the core programming, then we will discuss about those things. Perfect. Done with it. And then once we are done with this type of a for loops, the next type of a loops that we have is a while loops. So what exactly this while loops does? See, the for and a while, the significance is one and the same, basically, which is used to perform a logic repetitively. The objective is one and the same. The syntax is a different thing. Okay, the syntax is a differ. For the for loop, it is having it's categorized into three different blocks and then it's executing, right? The while loop is having a different syntax. So let me show you the syntax for this while loop. So while, for this while, you need to pass on a particular condition. Whenever the condition outcome is true, then only it will enter to the while loop and it will perform the operation. Okay, desired operation. And after performing the desired operation here, either you need to perform the increment or a decrement operation here. After performing the desired logic in a while loop, you need to do either increment or a decrement operation. If you are not doing increment or a decrement operation, then it will be an infinite loop. I'll show you what exactly an infinite loop with a practical example. But for now, the while loop, you need to specify a condition here. Whenever the condition outcome is true, then only the while loop will be entering, or this outcome is true, then only it will be entering the loop and it will be performing operations on that loop. If at all the condition outcome is a false, it will not enter to the loop and it will not perform any of the operations. Okay, it will not perform any of the operations. Fine. So let me go back to my Eclipse editor and let me create a simple program and let us study about the loops with a small example. Okay, so let's switch back to the editor here. And I'm creating a new program, new Java class, demo 10 with the main methods. And here, int x equal to 1. So I'm defining my variable x as a 1, while the condition that I'm specifying is x greater than or equal to 1. Whenever the value present in an x variable is a greater than or equal to 1, then only enter into this loop and perform system.out.println of x. So I was just printing this x variable. So whenever the x value is greater than or equal to 1, then print this x value to the console. So while x greater than or equal to 1, then print this particular x. Okay, that's fine. See, my x is greater than, x is equal to 1. So if you compare this condition, the x is greater than or equal to 1, the condition is true, it will perform that operation. The point here is, for a while is a loop. It means the action will be performed repetitively. So this action, printing of an x variable, will be printed repetitively as there is no termination for that. So here, when I run my test script, if you observe here, guys, 1 is being printed such a long time, the loop, there is no end for that at all. It's keep on continuing it. That's the reason whenever you are writing down any particular while loops, it's mandatory for us either to increment or to decrement. Okay, either to increment or to decrement. See here, int x is equal to 1, while x greater than or equal to 1, system.out.println x plus plus. So even this will be a kind of an infinite loop itself. Always my x value is greater than or equal to 1. See, let me run my script. Though I have placed this one, see, it's been incrementing and it's been printing those many values. There is no end for that. So here, what we need to do is, see here, what exactly we need to do is, while x less than or equal to 10. So here, what are we deriving right now? Whenever the x value is less than or equal to 10. So we are specifying that rotate this loop until the x value becomes a 10. Whenever it becomes a 10, I don't want to execute this logic. That's what I'm just specifying here. I don't want to execute this logic after 10. That's the reason I'm just specifying in this particular way. Now, whenever I'm trying to execute my script in this situation, if you clearly observe, it's just printing the values up to 10 itself. It's not going beyond the 10, it's going just up to the 10, while x less than or equal to 10. Done the deal. So this is a brief introduction about a while loops. So kindly rejoin the session, guys, so that we can discuss your questions and we will move on to the next concepts. Please rejoin the session.